Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Rachel Belle, host of KCTS 9's Food for Thought series and the podcast Your Last Meal. So thank you so much for joining us. It's called From Turkey to Teriyaki, an Immigrant Chef's Thanksgiving Table. And I am so excited about this one. I call myself a food voyeur. I love looking in people's refrigerators, which is something I've done since I was a kid. I want to know what everybody's had for lunch. And I always want to know about people's culinary holiday traditions. So on Thanksgiving, we always talk about the fact that we're all eating the same thing, that it's kind of the one day of the year that we're all eating turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and pumpkin pie. But that's not necessarily true. There are people from all over the world living in this country who have adopted Thanksgiving holiday traditions after moving to America. So over the years, I've heard stories about people stuffing their turkeys with sticky rice and Chinese sausage stuffing, which is a very hard word to say. Recently, I was talking to the owners of Spicewalla, a street food Indian restaurant in Seattle, and they said that they stuff their turkey with keema, which is like an Indian turducken kind of. It's just meat and meat and meat. So yeah, there's all of these dishes that you would never see in a Norman Rockwell painting. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We invited a bunch of local chefs who have incorporated their heritage and experience into American Thanksgiving traditions. And we're going to talk about their first impressions of the holiday. So I can't wait to hear their stories, and you might get some inspiration for dishes that you're going to add to your Thanksgiving table. So before we get started, I want to thank our partner, the Food Innovation Network and SpiceBridge, a global food hall in Tukwila Village, which helps immigrants and women of color start growing, thriving businesses. If you have not been down there, I highly recommend it. We're going to talk more about that at the end. We're going to hear from Food Innovation Network's Kara Martin at the end of this discussion. And if you have any questions, we are going to do a Q&A at the end of this talk. So put them into the chat early. We have somebody who is going to be keeping track of those, and we will talk about your questions at the end. And also, if you have problems with the video feed, just refresh your screen, and that should take care of most of the problems. Okay? Okay, so we're going to start with our first guest, Taichi Kitamura. Taichi was born and raised in Kyoto, Japan, before he moved to the U.S. at 16 years old. He opened Chiso in 2001 in Seattle, and now he owns and runs and chefs at Sushi Kappo Temura in Eastlake. Taichi and I have actually shared a holiday before. I had him over to my house for a Passover Seder a few years ago, and I am still trying to get you to add tempura matzo balls to your menu. Will you do it?
Yeah, I would privately.
Privately, yeah. Okay, we'll do it.
Well, maybe I'll get all my Jewish friends at my sushi bar, and I'll do a Jewish Japanese marriage
Passover. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about Thanksgiving. So will you just tell your story of, I know your family, you all came to the U.S. together. So when did you arrive? What brought you to the States? And did you come directly to Seattle?
I came directly to Seattle, but I was by myself. I was an exchange student, so it wasn't with my family. Yeah, I was by myself. I came here for my high school senior year in 1991.
And then you just stayed forever?
I am still here.
So how did that work? Did you just decide that you were going to go to college here, or what was your next step?
I knew I wanted to go to college here, but I wanted to give myself a head start in high school, and then I had a wonderful time in high school. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So let's talk about your first Thanksgiving. Did you have Thanksgiving with that host family?
Oh yes, I did. I still remember.
Tell me about the meal.
Okay, so I remember my host mother waking up super early, like 4 a.m, because this Thanksgiving dinner was going to last all day, and she wanted to have it ready by I think noon or so. And it was a giant, I don't know, 25-pound, huge turkey. Wow. I remember her cooking in a bag, and I think I remember she was proud using, am I allowed to say a specific brand?
Sure.
Butterball.
Okay. The classic.
Yeah, the classic. And if you cook it in the bag, it stays super moist no matter how long you overcook it.
I've never understood how you could put a plastic bag in the oven and it doesn't melt.
I don't know if it was plastic. I think it was like a more like a sturdy parchment paper type of thing. But I was
Okay.
fascinated by that. It's almost like steaming the turkey.
Yeah.
And but I remember it coming out kind of nice and brown. So I don't know how that magic happened. I'm pretty sure I'm missing a piece there, but
Maybe the inside is metal, like the old men who sit out, with like those by the pool and they get super tan with like the silver
yeah,
little reflectors. That's what
maybe.
the turkey was doing.
Yeah,
So, what did you think about the food? Did you like it? Did you think there was anything odd about the meal? Had you been in the States for a while already?
I loved it. I thought it was the most wonderful thing that's about American culture. It's all about food. I mean, everybody's
Yeah,
excited about food. We don't need to worry about present. We don't need to worry about you know praying or anything like that. It has no association with religion,
right.
and you just simply enjoy food. And well, you still have to be thankful for the food,
You
but
have to be.
yeah, I really appreciated that. And there's just so much food. I've never I've never seen so much food on in one meal, in my life basically. And the, I've never eaten a whole roasted bird like that in my life. That was my
Yeah.
first time, so it was super impressive.
I lived in Japan for a year and I learned that most people don't have an oven or they don't have a big oven like that. So you couldn't even fit a turkey in if you tried.
We don't. The biggest oven we have is microwave oven in Japan.
So when did you make your own first Thanksgiving? How old were you? And, what were you thinking when you did that? What was your idea?
So I started cooking Thanksgiving meal after I got married. So my wife has a family here, so I finally had a group of people that I can cook for, and I was super excited. And I remember my first year cooking Thanksgiving meal. I wanted to impress my my in-laws,
Yeah.
and I decided to deep fry that turkey.
Oh, for your first go. That's impressive.
Yes, yes. Um, I have a commercial deep fry in my restaurant, so I just dumped the whole bird in there and cooked. I had a thermometer, so I was checking the temperature. It was still taking a long time to, uh, even in a deep fry. It took, I don't know, 40, 45 minutes, maybe like an hour.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was going to be like hours and hours. That's not so bad compared to roasting it.
No, it wasn't too bad. I think the bird was relatively small, maybe like a 12 pound or 13 pound, because I only had to feed like 6 people.
And so I want to hear about your meal. I don't know if you started off with your first Thanksgiving cooking what you make now, but we were emailing about what you like to make for Thanksgiving, and I was drooling. So tell us your menu, your kind of Japanese American hybrid.
The menu now, I mean, it certainly has evolved over the years, because I've been cooking it for 16 years. So I started off with, I didn't want to offend turkey gods, or Thanksgiving gods. So I wanted to do everything traditional in the beginning. So, I mean, I did deep fry the turkey. I don't know if that's called traditional, but, seasoning wise, it was just salt, herbs, uh, classic sage, rosemary, thyme, things like that. And I stick with just salt, pepper, cranberry sauce. I didn't use any Asian ingredients or Japanese ingredients in the beginning. Then I wanted to start mixing things up a little bit, and I wanted to give more different flavor profiles to different dishes, and I ended up replacing one dish to another. For instance, I gave up stuffing because when there's too much starch, they just eat the potatoes, and then my family did not touch stuffing. I was the only one eating it. I mean, it was delicious, but they were getting too full just eating mashed potatoes. And but I did want to have something lighter but still starch. So
Yeah.
of course I added a rice dish. And being a sushi chef, I wanted to add a sushi dish. So I started making parachirashi, which is
Ah.
which is a big bowl of sushi rice topped with seasoned raw fish. And because it's in fall, we have a lot of great local ikura, which is marinated salmon roe. So it's raw fish, salmon roe on top, little diced cucumbers, radish sprouts, uh, and I do like to add a sweet egg omelet to it because that adds a nice sweet flavor profile to salty raw fish.
That's
So
your cranberry sauce.
yeah, the omelet. So I put that on the table, and you know what? Everybody goes for that first. They almost get too full to eat turkey after that.
I wouldn't want turkey after that. That sounds so good. And then what do you do for your turkey now?
So I keep offending turkey gods. I I dissect my turkey and I debone my turkey like like I do with chicken. So I have
Spatchcock it
no, I mean I
or totally
literally
debone it?
dissect the whole, like
Okay.
I cut it up and I debone it like chicken, making sure I leave the skin on, of course, because to me that's one of the best parts. Anyway, so I cook the skin on breast like I would cook chicken on a pan. Just pan sear it on with. I like to use peanut oil because it has a high burning point and makes the skin super crispy. So I start cooking the skin side, and then I turn it over, making sure the skin's crackling crispy. And then I turn it over and I sear the meat side a little bit, and then I finish it in the oven.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you made a teriyaki turkey.
So that's the breast.
Okay.
Yes. So while I'm pan searing this breast, the deboned thigh meat with skin on, and I marinate that in a lot of sake, brown sugar, soy sauce overnight, making sure all the flavors are in the meat, and then I oven roast that with skin side up, and you know what? It's so good. I I think I started a tradition. I think my family asked for that now.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just so I have the pan seared breast part, classically seasoned with rosemary, thyme, sage, salt, and pepper, and then but I stopped making gravy, and I deglaze the pan with sake, and I add a little soy sauce, and I emulsify it with butter. And I
Mm.
just use that for the sauce for the turkey. And then if I had any kind of potatoes, I'm planning to do just a roasted crispy potatoes this year instead of mashed potatoes. I thought about doing baked potatoes because baked potatoes particularly good with this pan juice with soy sauce and butter and sake.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I stopped making gravies. I find pan juice much better tasting, and then everybody loves it. And when I make gravy, I just make way too much, and then I always end up throwing away half of it.
Oh, you throw it away? I thought you were just gonna like bathe in it and pour it on everything. Next
Well,
time,
let's do.
save it for me and I'll come pick it up.
Well, we'll do it together, Rachel.
Okay. We'll make pan gravy together. Before we move on to the next person, is there any other part of the meal that is really special to you and your family that's a little bit unique?
Uh yeah, dessert. Uh, I always love fruit dessert rather than instead of like pumpkin or sweet potato pies,
Uh-huh.
and I leave that up to my wife.
She
And
does
that's
the
my
dessert.
favorite part. Yeah, she did peach cobbler. That was fantastic.
Ooh, yum.
I asked her to do something with apple dessert sauce, but I don't know exactly what she's going to make. So I'm looking forward to. I love it when someone cooks something for me.
That's how you keep your marriage alive is, getting surprised with an apple dessert. I can't wait for that for you. Well, thank you so much, Taichi. We'll come back to you at the end with the Q&A.
Okay,
Uh, You'll still be here, but we're going to stop talking now. Next
okay.
guest. Our next guest, you may know from his appearances on Top Chef, Master Chef, the Food Network, and the Discovery Channel. He's originally from France, and Thierry Rautureau is a James Beard Award winner who has made his mark on the Seattle restaurant scene with restaurants like Luke, Loulay, and Rovers, which he just recently closed. He is on a much needed break from running restaurants. And Thierry also hosts the successful podcast Hot Stove Radio with Tom Douglas. So, Thierry, thank you so much for joining us.
Great pleasure. Hello, Rachel. How you doing?
Hello. I am
Happy
good.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much. It's the first one I've gotten this year, the first greeting.
Cool.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about where you came from, when did you come to the States, and what brought you here?
Grew up on a small farm in France, came to the States when I was about 20 years old, and my first winter in Chicago, by the way, I came into Chicago. My first winter was with French people. So my first Thanksgiving was with French people. So there was nothing turkey-like on the table. It was, very French, the roast beef and carrots and petit pois. And it was like, there was nothing really turkey. So there was nothing memorable about, it was great to be together. It was just not an American Thanksgiving. And the second year, I don't remember what happened the second year, but I didn't have Thanksgiving. I was with a friend of mine, also a French guy, Cyril, who's been here in Seattle with me for a long time. We've been friends ever since, but we just had Thanksgiving together. We went and ate in a restaurant in the Loop, in a crummy restaurant, by the way. It was not that memorable. It was pretty sad. However, since then, it does get better. Since then, of course, I found my wife and get married, and we have this tradition of doing Thanksgiving. And just so it's clear, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday in the whole year. Just like Taichi, I think it's what's so cool about it. There is no commitment except friends and or family. Depends on what you do, or both. You get together and you have a great meal together. You get together, you have a good time. It's warm. The ambiance is just totally casual and very, very relaxed, and just happy to be together. And we need to have Thanksgiving, I think, once a month, 12 times a year.
Do you want the same foods every month too?
No. Just Thanksgiving as a Thanksgiving kind of idea.
Yes.
Which to me, I think that's the emblem of that holiday. Is so nice. It's just very cool. In the beginning, for many, many years, I did it at Rovers because we were never open for Thanksgiving. And of course, my wife would always go, "Why don't you let other people cook?" I'm like, no. It's my thing, man. I love this. This is right up my alley. I love this. We'd have 15, 20 people coming. My wife's family would be my brother-in-law, his wife, Linny, and their son, Presley. So Eric, Linny, and Presley, that was 3. The rest were all friends. Most of the time it was just friends, just close friends that we had. And they would come by and we'd invite them for Thanksgiving. They would have nowhere else to go or whatever. And usually I would start with a bunch of poo-poos on a big board, on a buffet. I would have a bunch of little like shock oysters and smoked salmon, little bite of smoked salmon with cucumber and creme fraiche, and just all kind of different little dishes like this to start with nice champagne. And then when people would sit down, we'd have over the year, my wife has been requesting turkey for the last few years, but for many years I did guinea fowl, pheasant, squab, duck. Those were the main highlights, birds that would go in and out of the menu. I was just like, we don't need to eat turkey. We can eat something else. It's nice to have something different, But that's why we need 12 months of it, because there is at least 12 different birds we can use.
You have to do a fowl a month. Okay, so the question I want to ask you is, because I've known you for a long time, and I listen to you on the radio show and the podcast.
And you come on the show often.
And I do, and I'll be there in a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
So we all know, anyone who listens, I say this lovingly, you are a food snob. And I am wondering if you have ever had the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows baked on top. You haven't had it?
I'm going to keep that at your house because I make a different mashed potato. I make mine with butter and cream. Another story.
Okay. Have you ever had it, though?
No, I have seen it, and it grows me out. Honestly, it grows me out. It grows me out. I'm like, why? Why you want to put sweet on top of sweet? And I understand it's nice. It's just not for me. I guess I'm not that sweet of a guy. I'm not. Marshmallow does not belong on my savory side of my meal. I like it on my sweet side of my meal. A little peanut butter and some marshmallow and some graham cracker. I can do something with that. Top Chef Master. I'll get it. I'll do something with that. But with my savory, no, get out of here. Don't put that in my savory. No.
I had a feeling. I just wanted to know if you tried it before.
I'm not a food snob. I just know what I like, and
yeah.
I'm a very fortunate man. I was raised in a house where we had all our own vegetable. We raised our own vegetable. My parents have never been to buy a vegetable in a store in their life. We grew everything. And living on a farm, if you don't have something like potatoes, your neighbors is growing 3 rows of 100 feet of potato. You go in there once a year and you pick them up, you put them in your cellar, and you get potatoes for the year. So it was never. It's not that I'm a snob. It's just because I have those flavor in my mouth.
Yeah.
Then I remember, or in my brain, I should say. And sometimes it's hard to cross that divide of like, you taste something and like it doesn't even taste like anything. Why? I just had a big fight with somebody about a caprese salad yesterday. As a matter of fact, the tomatoes were freezing cold. They had no taste. Mozzarella was cold. I'm like, stop. It's November in Seattle.
It's not the season. It's not the season for caprese.
No. Remember 3 months ago, I had one in my house. It was fantastic.
I like the idea of these are the kinds of fights that you get in, like imagining it as a bar brawl. You just like punching people in the face over out of season tomatoes.
I'm sorry. I get a bit crazy. Anyway, side dishes is something that I really love for Thanksgiving, and I usually do a very big, deep pan of roasted vegetable, rutabagas, carrots, turnips, parsnips. Big fan of that. Toss them in a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, fresh herbs everywhere. Put that in the oven, 400 degrees. And then when they're totally nice and soft, you just throw in a bunch of butter and toss that together. And always have a nice salad. Endive, radicchio, pomegranate seeds, something of that nature, some nice, interesting, crunchy green that will not make it look like it's painful to eat a salad, something interesting.
So how much of your menu has French influence in it? And how much do you try to, go traditional American because it's a American holiday?
Well, like I said, now we do turkey. I do a turkey this year I'm going to do turkey and duck. I'm going to do both because the turkey is a 12-pounder. There's 8 of us. I want people to go home with some leftovers. So I'm going to do a duck on the side. How much is traditional? I have nothing against tradition if I'm in love with it. Roasting a turkey with a bunch of citrus and it cut in pieces inside with rosemary and thyme, some garlic clove. I put all that in the oven. It makes a great turkey. I have beautiful respect for that. That's a beautiful bird. But there is also plenty of other bird. And it's one thing that I, as a chef, and I'm sure all 5 other chefs on the panel are going to think the same way. It's nice to not eat always the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is 5 million birds are going to die in one day, I'd like to kill the other birds that are watching the scene.
I think there's a lot of us too who like turkey's not the best bird. Like it's not the juiciest bird, Like I prefer chicken.
No, but the pheasant is on the branch going, it's not my turn today. Wrong.
You're an equal opportunity murderer.
Exactly. And for the desserts, my wife always makes a pumpkin pie or pecan pie. She makes a pecan pie, which to me, that's a little bit over the sweet side of life. It's not my favorite. I like it, but it's okay if we don't have it. We always have a big giant pile of whipped cream with vanilla and sugar, nice whipped cream. And then either my sister-in-law is going to bring a pumpkin pie, and she's talking about apple too. I used to make in the past an apple tart. I would make an apple tart every year because I was like, that's my apple contribution to Thanksgiving. It's like a nice apple tart, but they might make an apple pie this year because I don't want to do everything because, it's nice to share. Yeah. It's also part of the pleasure. Everybody brings a dish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to give other people the pleasure of letting them show off their cooking skills.
But the cranberry I make myself, fresh cranberry. I make a nice little compote. I don't do jelly of any kind or jello or whatever. I'm not doing any of that. I stay away from that. Yeah, no marshmallow, no jello.
That's the one trashy thing that I like. I like the can and I want it in the can shape and I want to cut slices off the can because those are just like if you grow up with something, you're just kind of used to it. It's nostalgia.
It's all about memory taste, and I think you should share it and you should love it because we all have them. Mine are different, obviously, but it doesn't matter. The point is it's memory, taste, and childhood memory. It's comfort food.
Well, Terry, thank you so much. We'll come back to you at the end as well. Thank you for
Right
sharing
on.
your Thanksgiving.
Cheers.
And up next is Melissa Miranda, the celebrated chef and owner of Musang in Beacon Hill, where she works with her team to craft dishes inspired by childhood memories. Speaking of, she's a community leader and organizer and also describes herself as a healer. And you might also know her from the Bon Appetit videos that have been airing online over the past couple of years. And I'm just going to mention, we were kind of talking about this before we went live. I've been trying to get a reservation at Musang for months now. So this is beloved food. This is kind of the hottest reservation in town right now. So welcome, Melissa.
Hello, hello,
Hi.
hello.
Hi.
Thanks. Hello.
So we're going to go a little bit sideways with you because you were born in the States, but your parents are immigrants from the Philippines. So can you tell a little bit about their story about when they came to the States and how they ended up in Seattle?
Yeah, absolutely. My parents actually both met here in Seattle at a Halloween party. My dad immigrated to the States by way of California, Alaska, and then ended up in Seattle in the 70s. And then my mom came in the 80s. And so I think their experience, especially with my mom growing up, my grandfather was in the military. And so they had a lot of kind of American influences. They were introduced to like lasagna and more traditional Thanksgiving things, where my dad, when he came here, he was by himself. So he kind of forged his own path, I think. But my earliest memories of Thanksgiving were like, I don't know, Chef Terry said that he wishes there was Thanksgiving every month. And I felt really lucky that my family is a really strong familial unit, and we would get together almost every weekend. And so it felt really special. But Thanksgiving for us was definitely a hybrid. We had the classic dishes like turkey and mashed potatoes, but then of course you'd have dishes like pancit, which is a noodle dish. You'd have kare kare, you'd have pinakbet, you'd have all these other things. And it was interesting growing up because I could never really differentiate what was Thanksgiving for Americans and Thanksgiving for Filipinos, which is really cool. It was so integrated. And my Lola, who was my grandmother, was always kind of at the helm of the kitchen, directing, cooking the turkey, making the gravy. It was really beautiful. I think that I was able to experience both. And I think personally, like some of the better parts of Thanksgiving, like, I mean, I don't do the sweet, marshmallow thing on the potatoes.
Yeah.
And, I've seen some folks where it's like that Jello concoction, and then it's like a really old style dish, but it's like,
where like things are suspended in the Jello, like the Jello casserole. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that what you said, how you kind of this was your family's Thanksgiving, because you kind of don't know until you go to someone else's house how other people eat. And so for all you knew, that's what you thought everyone in America was eating, right?
Mm-hmm. And then as you grow up and you start talking to your classmates and your friends, that's such an interesting part too, I think, of growing up, is that realization that like your American dream or upbringing is very different than others. And so for me, what's important is how we can continue to share. Like, there is traditional, right, Thanksgiving, but our country is so diverse. There's so many cultures and folks that have their own experiences and traditions that they should also be shared. I don't think that it should just be one menu that's curated that's specifically Thanksgiving. I think that as we grow and as we connect culturally, that it should become more normal to see things of other cultures and descents and be more celebrated and tried. Like, I love, I was just texting with Yenvi, who owns Fabak, and she's like, oh my gosh, I want to do a Viet turkey. And it has like Maggie and fish sauce and like all this stuff. And like, that creativity to me is what makes it so beautiful. And this Thanksgiving, I'm actually spending my first Thanksgiving with my partner's family, who is from Tacoma and definitely has had the more traditional Thanksgiving setup. And I'm excited for my parents to bring freshly caught squid and make calamari and kilawin for them. And my mom's gonna make pancit and my Lola's roast beef. So it's this cool part of what I grew up with that other folks are gonna get to experience as well.
So normally, do you have Filipino food and then, the turkey mashed potatoes, or do you do any of kind of the hybrid stuff, like you were just mentioning, like a Vietnamese turkey?
It's kind of interesting. I think we like to cook with balance too. Like it's never really starch heavy. We try to make sure that there's like all the things represented.
Yeah.
I think some of my most favorite memories were actually when I lived in Italy. And I would actually cook Thanksgiving for my Italian friends because they loved Thanksgiving for some reason. And
From watching American TV, probably.
From watching American TV, and that would be the only day at the butcher that they would have turkey. Like you'd never be able to find turkey normally, but since it's so fresh, like they'd sell these huge turkeys. But in Italy, their ovens are much smaller, and I remember cooking this too big turkey in a too small oven, and we smoked out the entire apartment. But we cooked for like 30 people, and it was the same. It was like there was pancit, there was Filipino food, there was Italian food, there was American food, and yeah, I mean, I love to see a table that is just so diverse. I think for me that really means and signifies like Thanksgiving and the holiday spirit.
So are you somebody who wants the same things every year because you look forward to this food that you only have once a year? Or do you like to try new things? You're a chef and you're inventive and creative.
I think I like to try new things. Like especially with turkeys, there's so many different trends sometimes that you're like, oh, like let's do it fried or let's do it this. It's really interesting, and I love to see when my cousins, because they also grew up Filipino American, and their takes on their dishes and how they share. I don't know. I like to bring creativity to it. I like to make sure that, like we usually send out like a spreadsheet with my family and we're like, who's making what, who's bringing who.
Well, you guys are organized.
That might be the me side.
I like that.
But then like trying to find the balance of what we can bring in between.
So for people who are watching who might not be familiar with Filipino food, can you talk about a couple of the dishes that always end up on your Thanksgiving table and kind of get into the details of like what the flavors, the ingredients are?
Yeah. I mean, pancit is anything noodles in Filipino food. So you classify the different types of pancit by the noodle. So it's pancit canton is a thicker noodle. Pancit bihon is a rice noodle. There's always some type of pancit at any kind of celebration because in Asian cuisine too, it celebrates long life. It celebrates kind of abundance. So that's always there. The military side, there's this roast beef that's like a classic American dish with cream of mushroom in a can.
Oh, wow.
Like that is something that I have grown up with my entire life because my grandma, who was an army wife, like used those products from the base. So that's something that we always have. Kare kare, which is a oxtail stew with peanut and shrimp paste is always present. There's usually a soup. There's always shellfish or like fish. There's something fried because Filipinos love fried food. And then there's always some kind of like sauteed green along with it. It is very flavorful. If you haven't had Filipino food before, it's wonderful because at Thanksgiving, like you're used to getting your whole plate, putting everything on, and you can mix it. And it kind of tastes, like everything tastes great together. And that's how we experienced was this like, you'd have your mashed potatoes and also like your chicken adobo, and then you mix those two together and it'd be like fantastic. Or, the pancit and putting some turkey in there. There's definitely this like collaboration of kind of all the things. And it's cool when we get together because it's still very much so that way. And we're trying to really kind of show the youth, like my nieces and nephews, like what Filipino food is too, because that's really important that they have that same kind of experience that we did.
I think hearing all the textures you're talking about is what makes it unique too. Because this week I was messaging with a friend and she was like, I don't like Thanksgiving food. It's like eating food in an old folks' home. Everything's mushy. Everything is the same texture. I was like, I never thought about it like that. I like it. But, it's like you guys have a lot more crunchy things going on and like maybe a little more piquant and like a little more
Yes.
acidic foods. Cause like all in the, classic American Thanksgiving, the cranberry sauce is the only thing that kind of
Thing that's like
saves you
acidic,
from all the
yeah.
savory. And I feel like a lot of people don't like it and they skip it. And so I feel like you're covering more of, the salty, sweet, sour, all the different kind of flavors.
Yeah. And like the substitutions, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be green beans from a can for your casserole,
Yeah.
or if you're doing stuffing, you can eliminate more of the starch and put more like kale and sausage. Like when I was in Italy, we definitely did more of that because they were just like, oh my gosh, American Thanksgiving is so heavy. It doesn't have to be.
You wanted this.
I know. It's like, okay, well, I'll give you like a kind of taste, but it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly that. So
there is
yeah.
something fun about celebrating a holiday from home in another country. When I lived in Japan, we did that too. And I feel like, living here and growing up, I didn't have any American pride. I just was neutral. And then all of a sudden you go abroad and it's like, you want these traditions and you want to show people your traditions and you want to tell them these things you do at home. And, it's kind of cool to like, be somewhere else where you can't actually get everything you need and have to improvise and, do what you did and have an Italian, Filipino, American Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. We will get back to you at the
you.
end with questions. Thank you
Sounds
so
great.
much. And up next, our final chef is Adama Jammeh. She and her sister are the founders of Afella Jollof Catering. They focus on Senegambian food, which is a mix of Senegalese and Gambian food from West Africa. And you can find their food at farmers markets and pop-ups and catered events, along with at Spice Bridge in Tukwila, which we're going to talk about later. I was lucky to try their food recently at a farmer's market. It was so good. Adama, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Rachel.
Hello. I still just can't get over how beautiful this is. I love all the color.
Thank you.
So tell us, when did you come to the States? Where did you land? How old were you? And what brought you here?
Okay, I came to the States in December of 2003. I landed in Baltimore at the age of 26. My first winter experience, I never saw snow because our weather is tropical.
Yeah.
So we had nothing like that. So it's either summer or springy weather than the rainy season. So my first day here, I saw snow. I felt like I was in a completely different world. I
Yeah.
felt so strange. I'm like, oh my God, the first time experiencing the snow.
Did you even have a jacket or did you have to go shopping?
My friend brought me a jacket.
Okay.
Yeah, before leaving that airport. But I was already in my jeans and my long sleeves and a light jeans jacket, and she brought me a jacket, thankfully. So 2 weeks after that, we moved to, I came for the vacation, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had no more friends back home. So she moved to Atlanta. And we went, there was a lot of people, and it was time for me to go. They're like, when you go back home, you have no friends or anybody. And I missed my friend for almost 10 years. And she's my only, like, a childhood, like, best. We call ourselves twins. So that's how I got caught into a relationship that made me stay here. I was trapped.
So did you ever go back home or you just stayed on your vacation?
I ended up getting married.
Oh, wow. That is a good vacation.
Yeah, exactly. So my first Thanksgiving was like 2 years after when I got married. So we had, it wasn't an traditional American Thanksgiving. I never attended one besides seeing it on TV.
Yeah.
We do it in such a way that it's customized, like the Gambian way. Because we too have these, we call it Tobaski, the Eid, the Muslim Eid, where it's a holiday, a public holiday in Gambia and Senegal, and you have families, people traveling just for that event. So it's pretty much similar. The only difference is that the turkey and ours is the lamb, water in the ship. That's the only, and the traditional food. So we customized it in such a way that it's turkey. So instead of the stuffing, we stuffed them with like onions, baked potatoes, like cold cut potatoes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like
just shove them right in.
Yeah, all goes to the store, turkey and the legs tied together.
Yeah.
Yeah, seasoned overnight and baked. And the side dishes are more of couscous, vermicelli. There's a whole lot of food.
Yeah.
A
I can
whole
see
lot.
the potatoes must have been so good because all of the drippings from the turkey were getting into them.
Exactly. So the gravy inside, because all that moist and like we have our own seasonings, like the knocker seasonings that season with the turkey moistened in the oven. So you have that gravy that forms in the pan that we
Yeah.
use for the potatoes. They are potatoes, and usually it's mostly like potato salad. Yeah. So
What are
we
the
keep
spices that you use? What are your traditional spices?
these traditional spices are the Gambian Senegalese knockers that entails like a whole lot of garlic, ginger, black pepper,
Mm.
parsley, cilantro, all blended
Yum.
together with mustard. So that's our seasoning base. That's what we used to season.
And
So
so
yeah,
did you marry a Gambian man in the States?
yes.
Okay. Okay. So you guys were celebrating Thanksgiving in the Gambian style. Got
In
it.
the Gambian style, yeah.
Yeah.
I never celebrated like the
Yeah.
traditional style because yeah, it wasn't present besides watching the TV. So we just try to customize the sides. Then when it comes to the pie, so my first time trying, I'm like, oh, sweet potato pie, how's that gonna? I ended up loving it. Yeah, I loved it with the
Yeah.
whipped cream on top. I loved it. I don't have a sweet tooth, but I'll take a little bit of that. But everything else, I eat a lot though. It's always a lot of food and people around. It's a lot of fun.
And so have you done a Thanksgiving every year since then?
Yeah, and I'm excited. Like last year, my mom's first Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. She enjoyed it. Yeah, we did it pretty much the same way, and I tried to bring in the pie so she could experience. And she had the same thought about it. She's like, "Yeah, this is just like the Tobaski. This is
Huh.
amazing." Yeah, and the rest of the turkey, it was so good that we saved it and cooked it into a different dish the following day. Yeah, we're like, yeah, we'll make like turkey wraps, quesadillas,
Yeah.
and even the chip, turkey chip. Like we blended this, like this jollof rice, another version of the jollof rice that we without the onions, without the tomatoes, like the brownish part of it, where we shredded the turkey meat, rice sticks, and blended together as a dish, like the next day, the after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Now I wish I asked everybody what they did for leftovers because that's kind of the best part is what you do with your leftovers.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar, can you just explain what jollof rice is? Because it's kind of, I feel like it's an introductory dish for people learning about this cuisine.
Oh yeah, so I hear people talking a lot about jollof rice, but it's connected to a tribe in the Gambia and Senegal, the Wolof people. So each of the tribes have their specialty dishes, and the Wolof people, those are the Jollof. So their specialty dish is the Jollof rice, and not just the specialty dish, but it's traditionally a dish that occurs in all occasions, weddings, naming ceremonies, funerals, you name it. This jollof rice is a staple food that everybody cooks in different ways because we have this fish option, we have the meat options. Yeah, meat and vegetables. Of course, we eat balanced diet, so we have to have the meats and vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this jollof rice, I see people competing about it. I'm very proud. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is famous. It's so famous that Nigerians and Ghanaians are fighting over it, like who cooks the best. But the origin is Gambian and Senegalese, and the way it's cooked, like I've seen different ways of cooking it, but ours is special. It's cooked in such a way, like we have this that we call the rosi. Rosi means caramelizing the onions and the tomatoes, and you have to take time when doing that. You just don't dump water in there, like add everything as if you're doing like tomato sauce, add what? No, you have to go through the rosi process first to caramelize that tomatoes and onions and the veggies. Then you slow cook the rest of the vegetables, just a little crisp. Then the final product comes. It's not a rush cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it requires
That's
a
why
lot
it
of
has
work.
that deep flavor.
Exactly. So that's why when you taste the difference, you eat the jollof rice, either the Gambian or Senegalese version is way different from what I'm seeing right now. And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm so proud to have customers proving the difference. Oh my God, yeah, we got like, yeah, we are the origins. We own it.
So you said that you kind of knew what Thanksgiving food was about from TV and movies. Did you kind of, when you were making your own meal and, doing your traditional dishes, did you say, okay, there needs to be a turkey, there needs to be a kind of potato? Did you kind of take each dish and then make it your own?
Okay, the turkey we made present though, but like the mashed potatoes and gravy, that one we did our own potatoes.
Yeah.
We have our potatoes like sweet potatoes mixed with the regular potatoes with mayo, mix them all with vegetables and carrots. That's the version we used.
Yeah.
Instead of the mashed, because that's too plain for us. We like spices.
Yeah.
Foods. So that's what we try to customize. Then the greens we try to put in like a stir fried vegetables on the side for the greens part of it, and we have our salad that has everything in it. We don't like it in plain. I think it's we like being creative or customizing food. So that's what we did technically, and my kids love it that way.
Was there anything about celebrating Thanksgiving that you felt like, I'm really an American now?
Absolutely. Just like I said, last year, I felt like I really celebrated Thanksgiving for the first time. Yeah, bringing in my own style a little bit, but the turkey being present just make me feel that American.
Yeah.
Friendly.
And getting to show your mom, you're like, look at me. I'm an American woman making you Thanksgiving dinner.
Like the turkey, like it's so huge. It's like, oh my, this is very huge. Like, yes, I've never seen such a huge bird.
Have you ever had the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on top?
Oh, I've never tried this. I don't have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
Because I like more of savory. When I'm eating like a big meal, like a family meal, I'm more onto the savory and spicy side. Yeah, I don't have a sweet tooth, but that sounds so amazing. I would like to give it a try this time.
I'm not a big fan of it either, but I just feel like if you were coming to this country and you didn't know about it, you would be like, what is that?
I'll look it up. And this time I'm going to have it on my Thanksgiving table. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm going to apologize in advance if you don't like it. It's a little bit super sweet.
I'll customize it if I don't.
And so this year for Thanksgiving, are you doing anything new or special, or have you kind of gotten in the rhythm that you have your menu that you make every year?
We make changes every year.
Mm-hmm.
So like you bringing in this one, so I'm going to make my research and like try to do like the American way, some American, and if I'm able to customize some of the menu, I will do so, because I like doing something different, not the same dishes every Thanksgiving. So we make changes. So this year, I'm going to create a meal with my kids. Yes, nice. I'm going to tell them about this one because they love cooking as well. My daughter knows how to cook, so we're going to come up with a menu for this year, so I'll know when.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. We'll come back to you at the end for questions as well. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Keep waving to everybody. Okay, so we're going to talk about Spicebridge now, which is the coolest place. I want to welcome Kara Martin, who is with the Food Innovation Network, to talk about what they do at Spicebridge. Kara, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hi. So I'm going to just have you explain the concept because you can do it better than I can. So what is Spicebridge?
Spicebridge is a very special place. It is a global food hall. So it is a place that you can come and try food from around the world while supporting startup businesses like Adama's.
Yeah. And so the people that get to have a space in the food hall, how do you connect with them and how do you support them?
Through from before they even have a business license. So we spend quite a bit of time, up to a year, helping them navigate the permitting process, getting licensed, insured, working on their menus. When they come to us, they have a pretty solid idea of what they want to do. They know their menu, they have their business name in mind, but it's navigating some of the kind of the US business practices that are challenging. And so we provide that business support to get them up and running. And then one of the key pieces is getting into a commercial kitchen space with affordable rent. And, it's more than the kitchen, it's also that marketplace. So with the food hall, we have kiosks. So any day of the week that you come in, it's a different mix of the businesses. So we have 8 businesses that are rotating through the 4 stalls that we have there. But then that's leading to other opportunities. So whether it's farmers markets, catering, Adama's at Pike Place now a couple days a week.
Cool.
And so it helps, it's providing a place for them to connect with customers and establish that kind of that customer base and the following, because we definitely have regular customers that they need their jollof.
Yeah.
And then, to the point that they'll be able to graduate and move on to their own place. And they each have their own business dreams of where they want to be in the next few years. And so we're really, while they're with us at Spicebridge, we're really focusing on where they're going to be in the next 5 years.
Right. The thing that I loved about Spicebridge is you're really focusing on cuisines that there aren't restaurants in the city that serve some of this food. And so it's like an opportunity to almost, go into somebody's home and eat this, traditional food that you just can't get anywhere else. So can you kind of like go down the list a little bit and talk about some of the different cuisines that you serve at Spicebridge?
Well, we heard about it, Afella, Adama's business. Hard to find Senegambian anywhere, and the Jollof Rice. Taste of Congo is, I think, the only Congolese food business in the state of Washington. Terry Cambodian Foods. She's the only. There's very few Cambodian food, Khmer region. We also have some fusion that's unique too. So we have an Afghan fusion. We have Moyo Kitchen is Zanzibar, and man, the spices that she has are out of this world. And so there's a lot of the authentic as well as that fusion flavors that you see. And it's been, fun seeing the chefs work together in the kitchen because they are seeing other spices and cooking methods and techniques. And there's a lot of like sharing of knowledge among the chefs.
And you can go in and you can order one little thing from each stand, so you can try a little bit of everything, which I love.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And really, like, any day of the week is going to be a different mix. And so you could go every day. Well, don't go Mondays. We're closed on Mondays.
Every other day. You can go any other day.
Yeah, every other day.
And it's kind of like a mentor program, right? So, you help them, kind of go through all of the processes, but is there more kind of mentorship behind that as well?
Yeah, all the businesses work with business coaches, and then we work with a lot of partners and mentors and connecting them to folks that have been doing this longer here in the States, and to help them kind of get to those next steps. And I think there's a lot of that peer mentorship among them as well.
So before we get to the Q&A, I want to ask you, do you have any special Thanksgiving traditions in your family / have you incorporated any new spices or dishes into your cooking since you've been working with Spicebridge?
Oh, yeah. Cooking for me has been more fun since Spicebridge. I'm bringing home more food, therefore I'm trying more things out on my own. I guess I grew up with the standard like turkey meal, and I don't like turkey, so that I'm all about the sides.
Yeah.
But
that's the best part.
And I haven't actually ever found a dish that I enjoy making for Thanksgiving, but what is now, like my family is saying, is now our new tradition is last year, Thierry Cambodian Foods was doing a platter around Thanksgiving, and we got that and fell in love with it, including my kids. Just loved the stuffed chicken wings and the meatballs and the rice that's steamed in banana leaves with the chili oil. And so they all year they're like, well, when we do Thanksgiving, we do that again. And so I just placed my order with Terry yesterday to make sure. And it'll be special. Like, my family's coming out for Thanksgiving this year, since, we didn't really get to do any of that last year. And so they're going to get to now join this new tradition.
I think everyone listening, I mean, if they feel like me, I want to go to every Thanksgiving dinner that we heard from tonight because, I mean, I do like Thanksgiving food because it's something you grew up with, but everything that they talked about sounds so much better than like the beige buffet that we're used to. So I'm excited to learn about everybody's culture. Thank you so much, Kara. We're going to go to a Q&A now and bring everybody back up on the screen. Okay, I'm going to look at these questions. To Adama, this one's for you. Vincent from Vashon Island asks, was it difficult acclimating to the American palate?
It's not at all, because everything we do, we try to customize. If we can't do it in the American way, we bring our own ideas. Because it's all about being creative. So you put in creativity in there. So whatever you create, and it turns out to be well.
Yeah, you don't have to have the plain food if you don't want it.
Yeah. So that's what, like me, I don't like the dressing. So instead, I came about with the rice stick that's mixed with the turkey meat itself, like the ground turkey, like stir-fried it, add a whole lot of herbs in them, cilantros and the parsley and all that stuff. All of those at one point too, I used as stuffing too in the turkey, and it turned out to be the best.
Was there any food when you moved here that you were like, what is that? Just in general in America, just something that you thought was very odd and unappealing, or that looked really good that you'd never heard of before?
No. All foods are okay with me.
Yeah.
The only thing I do when the recipe says this, or when I see something that's similar to something that I can create, that's what I just go for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So besides pork that I don't eat, everything else I see here,
everything
I
else.
make it my own way.
Yeah. For Taichi, Naomi from Seattle wants to know, what about massaging the turkey with white miso?
That sounds good. Yeah. It's a big breast, so you're going to have to massage a lot. That's a big its breast.
Would you mix it with something? Probably too.
I would loosen it up a little bit with, like, I don't know, sake or something, or water, and have it. And I would marinate that overnight, because it's just massaging it won't get the flavor all the way in. Yeah. But I think white miso will give a good, sweet, savory flavor profile to it. Yeah.
Anybody who wants to answer this, we talked about it a little bit, but what are your favorite things to do for leftovers? What do you like to turn your leftovers into the next day?
Soup and sandwiches. That's where it usually goes.
Yeah.
First soup, because the rice and the whatever mashed potato, you can turn all this into a soup. A little bit of turkey stock. You take the bones, you make a little quick stock, and you put all the mashed potato and the vegetables, roasted vegetable for me, roasted vegetable, mashed potato, the turkey. You can make a wonderful soup, and you can make a big batch of it for the next few days, which, I don't know about you, but always after Thanksgiving, you're like, okay, I'm going on diet for a week.
Do you blend it?
No. I just keep it.
Oh, okay.
You just pull the meat and then put that into the stock. Then you've made with the bones. You just strain the bones, and then you put all the leftover roasted vegetable, and mashed potato is kind of like a thickener kind of idea.
I've never thought about putting mashed potatoes in before.
Oh, it's good, man. Especially if mine is 50% potato, 50% butter. I tell you one thing, you want that in your soup.
Melissa, what do you like to do for leftovers?
It depends on what it is, but sandwiches and soups. Usually, we have pan de sal, which is like a version of a dinner roll, but it's very buttery, very sweet. And so I love making like roast beef sandwiches from that. Soup. I love that idea of the mashed potatoes with the extra butter. I probably would have to diet for a month after that, but it would be so worth it.
I just backed off the diet for another few days.
What about you, Taichi? What do you like to do the next day?
I love turkey sandwich, but I have to have. I use the whitest bread I can find, whitest, fluffiest.
Yeah, squishiest
bread. No fancy bread necessary for turkey sandwich for me. And if
do you put cranberry in there?
I don't do that. Although I do like turkey sandwich cranberry sauce from Crumpet Shelf in Pike Place.
Have any of you made the stuffing waffle before? I've been doing that the past couple years, and it's really good.
Oh, I got to try that.
Yeah, the next day you can just put it in plain, or you can mix it with an egg, and then of course it just gets super crispy, and then it's like still kind of soft inside, and then you can make a sandwich using the stuffing waffle as the bread.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It's real good. And then the mashed potatoes, like instead of your mayonnaise, everything like sticks together. It's so good.
That almost sounds like matzo ball.
It almost does. Not really, but I'm going to give that to you. Yes. Thank you so much to all of you for being with us tonight. And thank you to the audience for joining us. You can see more upcoming events at kcts9.org/events. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I can't wait to see what you all make and your leftovers this year. So thank you and good night.